Fixing the Ethiopian Food Crisis by Katie Kirschner, Funding Agency Proposal. The story of Badia Omar. Badia Omar, her husband, and her 5 children led their livestock for months through the lowlands of Ethiopia searching for food and water. She watched everything she had die before her eyes. The entire herd of livestock, which contained 200 sheep, 1 goat, and 25 cattle, all died of starvation and dehydration. 2 of her children died of the same causes. Her husband left them because he couldn't bear to watch his family suffering. Badia has no idea where he is or if he is even alive. Her children and herself are malnourished and their bodies are emaciated. Unfortunately, her story is an all too common one in the country of Ethiopia. The Faces of Hunger. Now, as you can see in all these pictures, these people are absolutely starving. You can see every bone in their body, even the livestock in the bottom right-hand corner. It's dead and just laying in a field because it obviously died of dehydration, starvation, and you can see all these people waiting for their food aid. Food insecurity. By the end of 2015, 350,000 children will require treatment for severe acute malnutrition. By early 2016, 32.1 million Ethiopians will require food assistance. Ethiopia is currently requesting $600 million for emergency funding. And the worst part about this tragedy is that it's affecting children the most heavily. You know, thousands of them are dying, and the ones who aren't have severe developmental issues. Causes of the food insecurity. Erratic rainfall is a big one because the rain is either not coming or it's coming too late or it's coming too strong and actually causing floods. And right now, Ethiopia is actually experiencing the worst drought in 60 years, which gives them low crop yields, and they also have a lot of pest infestation happening right now. And all of this excuse me, is causing the cost of their food to absolutely skyrocket. And along with this problem, coffee is their #1 export, and they have very unfavorable trade terms at the moment. Food and water safety is another issue because these people, the water isn't safe to drink and it's not safe to prepare their food with either. And as far as the food goes, many of them are eating rocks, which just to fill up their stomach, but it's really not healthy. Food distribution is another cause of food insecurity because even though Ethiopia has a road system currently, the government did not put any money into maintaining it, and so it's just crumbling and it's very hard to use. And trade barriers with other countries. Ethiopia is having some problems exporting their goods. So the solution that we have proposed, as far as fighting the drought goes, we can conserve water by reusing it, and we can reuse it by implementing sewage treatment systems and water purification systems. And we can also reduce irrigation by moving to drip irrigation instead of pivot irrigation. And we can reduce consumption, especially if we reduce the dependence on livestock. Because livestock consumes so much water, it would leave more water for the people. And educating about consumption. Fighting low crop yields and pest infestation. This is mostly going to be done using GMOs, or genetically modified organisms, which in this case are just crops that have been genetically engineered to have specific traits, and these traits include things like resistance to drought, resistance to viruses, insects, and resistance to low soil nitrogens. And they can also create crops that contain more vitamins, which would especially help out the people of Ethiopia, and also give the crops increased growing seasons. And field studies have actually showed yield increases of up to 80%. And especially with the resistant to insect GMOs, pesticide usage was reduced from 50 to 80%. And all of this resulted in an average of a 36% profit increase. Fighting food and water safety. So a lot of this actually just has to do with education. And this can reduce food poisoning and disease because these people, their bodies are so weak that they really cannot handle food poisoning and disease. So the WHO, or the World Health Organization, has come up with 5 keys to food hygiene, and those are to wash your hands and clean cooking surfaces and utensils before cooking. Excuse me. Cooking foods, especially meats, to the correct temperature, and then separating your raw foods from the cooked and fresh foods to reduce cross-contamination. Storing your foods at the correct temperatures, which is a little harder for the people of Ethiopia because a lot of them, don't have freezers, but if they do, or can at least modify this in some way. And using safe water and cooking materials. Water purification for the water safety. We just need water purification systems to allow these people to have safe drinking water because currently their water is very unsafe to drink. And they do boil it, but they're not always boiling it, so there are still diseases that happen. Fighting food distribution issues. A big part of this would be improved road systems because, as I said earlier, the roads are crumbling. It's incredibly hard to get, anything distributed across the country without, road systems, especially in large quantities. And improved technology and communication, just so, because you need to know who needs food and where they are, when to bring it to them and stuff like that. So fighting food insecurity with education. Land-grant universities, especially in the U.S., are at the forefront of solving these insecurities, and they're using research to do that. A lot of the stuff they're researching has to do with, agriculture, especially soil, animal production, GMOs, and water. As far as the soil goes, they're very interested in preserving it and the nutrients, and they're testing a lot of different types of organic agriculture, especially using compost to put nutrients back in the soil. And agriculture, irrigation, they're using a lot of drip irrigation instead of pivot irrigation, and researching, the benefits and side effects of that. They're also doing crop rotation and using a lot of GMOs. Animal production, they also use GMOs, and they're researching different methods of animal treatment and grazing management. GMOs, the biggest piece of this is the safety of GMOs, and thus far there have been no actual proven experiments that have said that they are unsafe for human and animal consumption. And they're also innovating and adapting different traits to create new types of GMOs. And water, they're very interested in preservation. Again, back to the agriculture, they're using a lot of drip irrigation, and especially renewal is a big part of preservation. And they're interested in sewage treatment to, make that water clean again, and purification systems. The systems approach to this whole thing, this idea is that all of these innovations need to be combined for this to actually work and for there to be a solution. So our proposition is that organic farming using crop rotation and compost can be used to preserve the soil's integrity and keep the environment healthy. GMOs can be used to prolong growth seasons and make plants more resistant to viruses, drought, pests, and more. And these innovations will help Ethiopia to deal with climate changes a lot easier as well, which the country is experiencing right now. and this will reduce farming costs and result in higher yields with higher profits. This will ultimately make the cost of food in the country decrease. And with more crops, there will also be more food to feed the animals as well, so overgrazing rates will begin to decrease. Drip irrigation can be utilized in order to preserve water. Sewage treatment plants and purification systems can also be implemented to reuse water and provide clean water for drinking and food preparation. And the road system can be repaired, and new technological forms of communication can be introduced to provide faster and easier distribution of foods. And these revolutions will make the government stronger and reassure other countries of their success, so this will help to bring down trade barriers and make exporting goods a lot more efficient. Using a system combining all these factors will help Ethiopia repair itself and restore health to both the people and the economy. So as far as funding goes, because of the hard economic times Ethiopia has fallen under, the government they're just unable to implement these changes at this time. And it is our duty as humans to help others in need. Putting these changes into effect will provide a new beginning for the country of Ethiopia and allow them to stand on their own feet. It will also cut down the amount of aid needed from the U.S. and other countries. And like the saying goes, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, feed him for a lifetime. If we keep sending aid to this country, it's not fixing the problem. We need to, implement these changes so that they can take care of themselves and provide a real solution.